Now that children as young as 5 years old are getting vaccinated against COVID-19, more families are imagining doing something that many have not done since 2019. Traveling for the holidays. But like many things in America after Trump, air travel has changed as well. Images like these that you're looking at, all on social media and news reports, are shocking. The Federal Aviation Administration reports that more than 5,000 incidents of unruly passengers have taken place since January. Nearly 4,000 of those were related to the federal rule that passengers have to wear masks. The FAA has referred 37 unruly passengers to the FBI. The FAA administrator, Stephen Dixon, said, quote, "Let this serve both as a warning and a deterrent. If you disrupt a flight, you risk not just fines from the FAA, but federal criminal prosecution as well." Our next guests both testified before a House Committee on Aviation, specifically on the sharp rise of violent behavior by airline passengers this year.
The danger in this hostile environment in response to flight attendants simply conducting routine safety reminders and compliance is hesitancy in performing these tasks.
I've lost count the times I've been insulted or threatened on a flight simply for doing my job. My colleagues are anxious and fearful. What is going to happen on the next flight? How will this passenger react if I remind them to wear their mask? Will complying with airline policy set them off? Can I avoid engaging, or would that be an evasion of my duties?
Joining us now, Sara Nelson, the president of the Association of Flight Attendants. She's been a flight attendant for 25 years. Teddy Andrews is a member of the Association of Professional Flight Attendants and a flight attendant for American Airlines. Welcome to both of you. Teddy, I was on a flight recently from Johannesburg to New York, and before the flight pushed back, the captain came over and said, "It's going to be 16 hours. You got to keep your mask on the whole time. If you have a problem with that, hit your call button now. We'll deal with it now, because if we have to deal with it when I'm in the air, you're going to be met by federal agents when we land." And you know, everybody on the plane seemed to be quite happy with, like, lay down the law and make it clear, because you have all been suffering this for the last more than a year and a half.
Yes.
Tell me about what happened to you.
Well, I was working a flight heading to Miami, and was met in the back alley by a flight attendant on my crew who was visibly upset because a passenger refused to wear a mask. He was not eating or drinking and was just giving the flight attendant a hard time, to the point where she was near tears. When I went out to speak with him, he began to use racial epithets, and I won't use the word that he used with me on the plane, but the N-word was over and over and over and over, telling me that he didn't have to listen to me. It was a free country, and that you know, he can do whatever he wanted to do. He didn't have to listen to our rules.
Sara, what do you do about this stuff? I mean, you and I have been talking since the beginning of the pandemic about this. Your people are literally on the front lines. You were there when there was no vaccines. People die of this thing, and then Teddy and others have to deal with this added anti-government and racist BS at the same time?
Yes, I mean, it's all about communication and the real discordant communication that has been going on across the country for several years now, even with whether or not we recognize that we're in the middle of a pandemic and what we have to do about it. You talked about the fact that we're going to have more children on our planes this next month. We have to keep these children safe. Now, it's a federal mask mandate that flight attendants are required to enforce, but let's be really clear. We're very serious about our role as safety professionals, and we know that rules in aviation keep us safe, and so we're there to enforce those. When we go to do that, though, we are being met with this conflict, and I want to be really clear. This is a small number of people, but it's bigger than it's ever been before. In fact, we're on track to have more in this year alone than we've had in the entire history of aviation. Right, and as people are vaccinated and as people start traveling, they're going to start encountering them. I've done a couple times. I've been on flights or around an airport where I've encountered belligerent people, and it's just not something we need to add to the stress of travel and the safety of air travel. I've got to, unfortunately, cut this conversation short, because we do have breaking news out of Congress, which you know a lot about, Sara, because you've been involved in so many of these discussions. But I will promise that I will continue this conversation with both of you. Teddy Andrews is a member of the Association of Professional Flight Attendants. He is a flight attendant. Sara, of course, is the president of the Association of Flight Attendants.